Now
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
7:06 now. It's O'Connor and Company this Thursday morning, and we are charging through a busy news cycle. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Mercedes Schlapp. And Mercedes,
I love it when you put conga on. I always feel like the conga song from Gloria Estefan is specifically for me, right?
Absolutely. You are the Miami sound machine of talk radio. You're the Miami sound machine of conservative punditry.
That's right.
Come on, shake your body. Let me see that conga.
No, not right now.
That's
I'm too tired,
best.
too old.
No bodies are shaking right now. Coming up at 8:05, Peter Ducey is going to join us. And then at 8:35, we've got Julie Kelly from American Greatness. And let me give you a quick tease as to what Julie Kelly will be joining us to talk about. You remember that House Select Committee that investigated the events of January 6th. You'll remember that it was a stacked deck. It was a kangaroo court. When Kevin McCarthy, then the minority leader, chose the Republican members to put on that panel, Nancy Pelosi denied them their seat at the committee. This entire so-called select committee was hand-selected by Nancy Pelosi. Kevin McCarthy was not allowed to put his Republicans of choice, Jim Jordan and I can't remember the other congressman he wanted to put on there. Instead, we had Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney. By the way, these are two upstanding Republicans, right? Nancy Pelosi picked Adam Kinzinger and picked Liz Cheney, the two Republicans, to be on this committee. Where are they now, Mercedes? It's amazing what happens to a Republican who is hand-selected by Nancy Pelosi suddenly loses the next time they go up for re-election. Shocking how that happens.
No kidding. Yeah, they're I mean, look, they're CNN. Some of them are CNN contributors. Others are, probably going to get on really big boards. But look, this is all. You do realize that it was the J6 committee, one-sided political witch hunt. Their main target was to gather the information so they can literally probably hand it over to the special counsel and make sure that Trump would be indicted and thrown into jail. And
yet, Trump was not indicted, and this is very important to note. He was not indicted on incitement. He was not indicted on insurrection, treason, the things that they claimed they were going to indict him on. Although I do think that if the news cycle gets worse for Joe Biden, then sure, Jack Smith will throw those indictments out there as well to distract people. But let's get to the latest corruption of this select committee that Nancy Pelosi oversaw and Liz Cheney oversaw. I love the euphemism, failed to adequately preserve documents, data, and video depositions, including communications it had with the Biden White House that are still missing. Failed to adequately preserve documents. In other words, they destroyed evidence. The evidence that they gathered for their committee, they destroyed. Yeah. And this is relevant right now because Trump wants access to all of that data. This is all evidence that, as you rightly pointed out, Mercedes, was used to make the federal case against Donald Trump. Now his lawyers are like, okay, we'd like to see all the evidence, including exculpatory evidence that didn't make it to the primetime television show that was called the J6 hearings. And the committee members are not, we don't have that anymore. We don't have that evidence for you. Sorry, it's been deleted. This is Stalinist behavior.
Yes, I was just letting you finish your statement because that was a good one. But you have Congressman Barry Loudermilk from Georgia. He's the chairman of the subcommittee on oversight for the Committee on House Administration. They said that they got all these documents. They were completely disorganized, right? Mm-hmm. And they had a team called the Blue Team that represented the group within J6 committee that was directed to investigate security failures at the White House. Well, guess what? The Blue Team was essentially shut down by the committee so that they could shift their focus to put the blame on former Donald Trump. Just think about that. It is so we're not going to talk about the security failures, that there weren't enough police, Capitol Police there, that basically they did not even plan on having the National Guard there, knowing that there was going to be hundreds of people, thousands of people in that area. And yet they didn't even cover that.
They don't have videos of all
security failures.
The depositions they took. They don't have the videos of them. He said that he's been contacted by a defense attorney that needed access to key information in one of the video depositions. Committee realized they didn't have the videos he was seeking. Correspondence letters between Loudermilk and Thompson's offices, Congressman Thompson, which the two disagreed on whether the January 6th committee preserved what it was required to under House rules. So now they're going to get bogged down in House rules. When we mentioned this earlier, Mercedes, and you said, well, that's against the law to destroy evidence. See, in Congress can do whatever they want. Congress doesn't. They don't have to worry about evidentiary laws like little peons like we do. If under Nancy Pelosi they decided, you know what, we're Congress and we can destroy whatever we want, then they did, and the rest of us can go pound sand. This is how authoritarians work, and this is what we're seeing right now. Yeah,
it's a disaster, and I think that they're going to have to figure out. It really is going to put President Trump and his legal team in a bind if they don't have that information accurately, and we don't get to the bottom of this. And yet you have the special counsel, which hones in on the January 6th riots as being something that they're blaming Donald Trump on.
Right.
So, I mean, they don't use insurrection in the actual indictment, but it is definitely in there, where you actually have the special counsel, Jack Smith, not even including the complete line of President Trump calling, using the peaceful rhetoric.
Oh, yeah. They selectively edit him. Yeah. Oh, I know. And here's what, as far as we know, since this wasn't preserved and they didn't keep all of the evidence from their hearing, we can only assume what they destroyed. Evidence that would have exonerated, or at the very least shown Donald Trump's actions that day and his words leading up to the events of January 6th to be not what we were told they were, exculpatory evidence, number one. Number two, any evidence that showed that Nancy Pelosi, as Speaker of the House, failed in her responsibility to secure the Capitol that day, given credible evidence that there could very well have been some direct action happening from that group. And number three, they've destroyed the evidence that we know exists of correspondence between the Biden White House and this committee, coordination between those two entities in the execution and timing of the January 6th committee for political purposes. That's all been expunged, and it's an outrage.
It is, but I mean, what can they do, Larry?
Well,
I mean, that's the biggest issue.
What can they do? I don't know. If this happened in the reverse,
documents,
if this happened in the reverse and Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats were in the majority, I think they'd come up with something to do.
Yeah.
I think they'd figure something out.
It's a disaster, though, and you got to wonder, what information did the J6 Select Committee had because obviously they presented a very propaganda-like type of, representation in that committee.
Here's what they can do. They can bring Nancy Pelosi up on ethics violations.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Show some cojones.
For me.
Show some cojones.
Yeah.
Get up, because they would do it to you. For God's sake, that Nancy Pelosi would do it to you. Bring her up on ethics violations and let her defend herself.
Yeah,
let her get on the stand and say, "You're damn right, I destroyed that evidence. I had every right to because I was Speaker, and there's nothing you can do about it."
And Congressman Benny Thompson, who handled the J6 investigation as well.
All right, coming up at 8:35, Julie Kelly will join us to expand on this and some other things that we've learned about the very shady way in which Donald Trump is being, prosecuted or persecuted. You decide. That's coming up later. Right now it's 7:15, WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the fives, it's time for Jamie Whitten. She's in the Hadid.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live
from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
On the next Vince Coglianese show, the biggest threat to the left? The truth. It tells you a lot. Join us 3 to 6 right here on WMAL.
Special Counsel Jack Smith got a search warrant for former President Donald Trump's Twitter account back in January. This is according to newly released court documents. The federal and Twitter, by the way, dragged its feet. They did not want to comply with this. They thought it was a violation of privacy. This would allow the special counsel, the Justice Department. Let's just be clear. This is an operative of the United States federal government and the Justice Department. It would allow him to be able to see Donald Trump's personal, private, direct message, confidential correspondence with people on Twitter. Twitter was reluctant to hand it over. The federal judge fined the company $350,000 for not complying with the search warrant, and eventually they did hand it over. Unbelievable.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, I would think during these legal cases that the defendant would be able to know the actions being taken by the plaintiff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we are going to look, please hand over the documents. Please, you basically subpoena the documents. And
no, it's all got to be secret. It's all got to be subterfuge.
This is outrageous. And the mere fact that this federal judge would hold Twitter in contempt for not complying with the warrant and fining the company. I mean, it just shows how out of control our legal system our judicial system has become. This is outrageous.
It gets worse. And this judge, Beryl Howell.
Don't tell me. I can't handle worse today.
It gets worse. It absolutely gets worse. Because you're right. It's extraordinary to have this whole thing done in secret and under the cloak of subterfuge, where Donald Trump, it wasn't disclosed to him that this subpoena put forth and that this was a search warrant. But there was a reason why they did it that way. According to the court documents now released, it was demonstrated to the court that Donald Trump was a flight risk. So they had to keep it secret. Think about that for a minute.
Right.
The man is running for president of the United States, and Jack Smith told a court that he was a flight risk. You know, he might take off and go to Brazil or something, or Kazakhstan, and so we got to do this secretly. And the judge agreed.
Yeah.
The judge agreed. And then, as Julie Kelly points out, look at this footnote. I want to read it to you. The district court found reason to believe that the former president would flee from prosecution, but the government later acknowledged it had inherently included flight from prosecution as a predicate in its application. In other words, when they said that the president, the guy who's running for president right now, was a potential flight risk, they said, "Oh, that was a mistake. We didn't mean to say that."
Yeah.
This is how they.
Yeah, and that's why the special counsel needs to be defunded. This is why the House Republicans need to take action. This is outrageous.
And the judge needs to be impeached.
Yes, this is outrageous.
Where's the judge stepping up and saying, "What do you mean he's a flight risk? The man's running for president. He's not going to run away to Brazil because you want to look at his Twitter account."
It's a joke. You can't take this. You can't take this seriously.
No,
I mean,
no,
this is
nor
a
should anyone. No, actually, they should take it very
president.
seriously. They should take it seriously because our judicial system is being raped by this man, by Jack Smith. They are doing whatever they can with whatever shady, disgusting, despicable, illegal action they can. But nobody ever pays a price. Here you've got a special counsel with all of this power, subpoenaing his private correspondence, violating his civil rights under the guise that he's a flight risk. And then after they get everything they want, they do another court filing that says, "Oh, that was a mistake." A mistake?
Yeah.
And there's no repercussion?
Well, I'm wondering if Trump can sue the special counsel on this.
Sure, and that'll be adjudicated by, 2027.
Yeah, it's just, you can't.
The damage is done.
The damage is done. The damage is done.
Julie Kelly.
Yes, go ahead.
Julie Kelly, one of the reporters who's been all over this, is going to join us coming up at 8:35 to cover it even more. Obviously, I'm outraged.
No, we're not fired up in any way. We're so calm right now. We're so zenful, you and I.
And I'm mostly fired up because I want to have respect. I want to have faith in our federal judicial system. I want to have faith in our Department of Justice. And every day they demonstrate why they don't deserve that faith. Why the American people have every reason to believe that
they got to impeach Merrick Garland. They got to defund the special counsel. They've got to move fast. The House Republicans need to move fast. time is running out. We can't keep seeing these activist judges, make these quote unquote mistakes. And you're talking about prosecutorial misconduct, too, coming from Jack Smith by using this overreach, this power to take the president's Twitter DMs without knowledge given to the defendant. Where is the due process?
Even Donald Trump has constitutional rights.
Give me a break.
Now,
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:36. It's O'Connor and Company here on a very busy Thursday morning. I'm glad I've got Mercedes Schlapp to help me because, it's too much work, Mercedes.
It's so much work today. I mean, the news, it doesn't stop. There's so much incoming.
Stop.
And then you've got to digest it and figure it all out.
Peter Ducey on the Biden scandals, and at 8:35 we've got Julie Kelly on the Justice Department scandals, trying to wrap Donald Trump up in more fake charges. That's all coming up. But let's look at Rand Paul and Anthony Fauci for a moment. Now, you'll remember when Rand Paul, senator from Kentucky, is also a medical doctor. He had some very pointed and very specific questions for Anthony Fauci during the COVID-19 pandemic, like this.
The NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute.
There you go. That's pretty unequivocal, right? And this.
Government scientists like yourself who favor gain-of-function research.
I don't favor gain-of-function research in China. You are saying things that are not correct.
Yeah, you're saying things not. It's very unequivocal. And this about royalties.
Do any of the guidelines for vaccines from the government include previous infection as something to base your decision-making on with vaccines? Do any of the guidelines involve previous infection? That's why you're ignoring previous infection, because it doesn't involve any of the guidelines. And furthermore, we've been asking you, and you refuse to answer, whether anybody on the vaccine committees gets royalties from the pharmaceutical companies. I asked you last time, and what was your response? We don't have to tell you.
Right.
We've demanded them through Freedom of Information Act, and what have you said? We're not going to tell you. But I tell you this, when we get in charge, we're going to change the rules, and you will have to divulge where you get your royalties from what companies, and if anybody in the committee has a conflict of interest, we're going to learn about it. I promise you that.
Mr. Chair, can I respond to that, please?
Hey.
Okay, there are two aspects for what you said. You keep saying you approve, you do this, you do that. The committees that give the approval are FDA through their advisory committee. The committees that recommend are CDC through their advisory committee. And you keep saying, I'm the one that's approving a vaccine based on certain data. So I don't really understand, with all due respect, Senator.
You're the one that said you would not reveal what companies gave you royalties, or what company gave the other scientists royalties.
Gotta move
That's
on.
what you told the committee.
Senator Paul,
Sir,
you gotta move on.
Could I please answer that?
Briefly,
You
yes.
keep asking committees. They're not my committees. They're the VRPAC committee for the FDA.
Yeah, so he's obfuscating and not wanting to get to the point of the royalty payments. All right, let's start with that. It's now been revealed, according to FOIA from OpenTheBooks.com,
right,
Transparency Watchdog, that Fauci and others, Francis Collins, also from the National Institute of Health, received 58 royalty payments, while the NIH collected $325 million from multiple companies related to federal policies that go on here. And 37 of the payments went to Fauci from 3 companies between 2010 and 2021, including companies linked directly with the pandemic and the vaccines.
Well, you know what bothers me, Larry, is that, here you have Fauci basically saying, I don't have to give you this information, Rand Paul.
Yeah.
But yet he is getting paid. His salary is from taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, he's the highest paid.
And then he's receiving all this extra money. So he gets this big fat pension, right? Because he served in the government for decades. And then on top of that, he's making a lot of money on these royalties.
Right.
He received 37 payments from 3 companies between 2010 and 2021.
I don't know what's a bigger scandal,
That's
that he's
insane.
able to do that, or that it's apparently legal for him to do that.
That's my whole point. Like the mere and that he kept it.
Scam.
He wouldn't share the information. And you
Right.
know how much he made his salary in 2022? Fauci's salary $480,000.
The highest paid federal employee.
$480,000.
But let's go back to this first cut I played for you.
The NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain of function research in the Wuhan Institute.
All right, so just so you know, we know now that that's a lie, although
That's right.
The only way he's getting around the lie is that he's trying to redefine what gain of function means.
Yeah.
But you can't redefine the terms and then get out of perjury charges. And if you're waiting for someone to do something, well, hopefully this will start something. Senator Rand Paul yesterday referred Dr. Fauci to the top prosecutor in D.C. for criminal charges for lying under oath. Now, and he specifically cited that testimony, saying that the NIH does not now or at all ever fund gain-of-function research in Wuhan. That is a lie. That's the best we can do right now, is Senator Rand Paul doing that. Now we have to wait for the prosecutor to actually take it seriously and do something about it. And sadly, the way D.C. prosecutors are, I doubt they will.
They have too many thank you, Dr. Fauci signs still in Alexandria, for crying out loud. They're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
But I will say what's interesting is that Rand Paul did warn Fauci of criminal implications of lying to Congress, and he offered him an opportunity to recant his previous statements. Obviously, Fauci is digging his heels and not making any sort of changes to his previous comments.
Yeah, and if prosecutors in Washington don't actually take this up and take this seriously, then we know two things. First of all, it's further confirmation that there are two systems of justice, one for those who were friends of the state and one for those who were perceived enemies of the state. And the second thing we know is that they really don't take the whole perjury thing that seriously. So the lesson to everybody is, go ahead and lie under oath. There's no repercussion. We love us some crazy out there. It's almost like the human version of Critter News.
And
we've got some crazy.
Story.
Yeah, this comes from our friends at Libs of TikTok. Let's just let the audio speak for itself.
I don't remember the last time I went to see a movie because I don't love going to the movie theater. But I'll tell you what, it pisses me off that I can't go see Barbie. I want to go see it, even if it is white feminism. I want to be able to go. So I'm doing a thing. And if you live in the Pacific Northwest, you can do a thing with me. Here's what it is. Next week, which is July 31st, August 1st, someday next week on a weekday, I am renting out a theater in Northwest Portland. The entire theater. The whole theater. The theater seats 46 people, I think. We're only going to do 20 tickets. So me and 19 other people. That's it. In addition to that, there will be one employee. So the entire building, the entire cinema, is going to be one employee plus 20 attendees.
Now, she's doing this because she's still terrified of the COVID-19 virus.
Wait a second. But, Larry, didn't the COVID pandemic end already? Didn't Joe Biden say it's over?
Well, until he needs it for political purposes again, yeah.
True, but you
and
really
because of the vaccine, you know that this woman is triple vaccinated and quadruple boosted.
Oh,
by the way.
Oh, hands down. But here's the thing: our incredible producer Heather Hunter, she tweets and says they are wearing an N95 mask the entire time for 2 hours.
Yeah,
for 2 hours. And then Heather says these people are sad and need prayers. But let me tell you, you got to watch the whole video because you can't have popcorn. There can be no kids.
Yeah, I'll let it play.
There's a whole list.
There's more here.
That's it. We are the only people in the building, and every single person, including that employee, is going to be wearing an N95 the entire time. The employee's going to put it on before they enter the building. They've been chosen specifically for this purpose. They seem to get it. If you show up because you bought a ticket, I need to see a KN94 well-fitted or a 95 well-fitted or a P100. And if I see a baggy mask, I'm going to tell you to take it off and put on one that I hand you. I'm holding onto a bunch of masks. Choose the one you like best. There are no concessions during the movie. They're not even going to open it up. Do not bother bringing food or drinks. You may not take your mask off in the movie. If you need to scratch your nose or you need to take a sip of water, you need to get up, exit the theater, do that, and then come back. They're going to be medically fragile people there. This is their first opportunity in like 3.5 years, so we are not around here, folks. No kids that can't wear a mask solidly for 2 hours. Like, I'm not going to do little kids because I don't blame them, but it is what it is. This is going to be a morning showing. We are the first people in the building, so we will be in and out well before any other employees or other people show up for the showings. The building will have had a chance to clear the air from the night before. And also, they upgraded their filtration over the past 3 years, and they just had an inspection, June 26th, their quarterly inspection, and changed out all of their MERV filters.
These people are not well.
No.
And it has nothing to do with the virus.
They're psychologically messed up.
Yeah.
And
they've been
complete
messed
fear.
up by people like Fauci and people like the mainstream media who terrified them.
Fauci should hand over some of his money, his royalties, over to this woman so she can stop panicking so much.
They terrified these people, and they continue to terrify them for political purposes because they had an election to win. They needed you to be sad, terrified, and miserable so they could win the 2020 presidential election. It is pathetic. You're right. Heather Hunter is correct. These people need our prayers. Also, we like making fun of them. It's 7:53.